hearing for the TikTok psychic court trial, or for the damages portion of the defamation case between Rebecca Schofield and Ashley Gilliard, the TikTok psychic. And I think a lot of people are very happy that it's over, because after seeing this for 3 days, I can only imagine what Rebecca Schofield felt over the last 3 years and 3 months, because that was awful. That was unbelievably awful. I would never wish that on anyone, because this is just completely unsufferable. I am still in shock from what I witnessed today, what I witnessed yesterday, and what I witnessed the day before, because this shouldn't have happened to anyone. Oh, yes, she was still trying. Her closing arguments were insane. Everything about today was honestly just insane. But it's safe to say she lost. She lost so bad that she's in generational debt because of this. Like, this is unreal. I'm not going to give away the number right now, but this is from what I can tell, the biggest reward jury reward, which has, been given for any defamation case in Idaho, like by far, by like a massive amount. Yeah, it's so bad. So today, yeah, it was an interesting day. So today was the final day of this TikTok psychic trial. And today it starts off with a juror saying that she accidentally saw a headline of a post from the local news station talking about this case. So she had to be brought into the room by herself without the rest of the panel. And she had to talk about what she saw. And she only saw a headline. So, and apparently the headline referred to Ashley as famous. And that was really all she saw. So, yeah, that wasn't really too big of a problem. So, essentially, Ashley wanted her removed from the panel, though. So, that is definitely interesting. Yeah, no. So TLDR, 10 million. But we'll get into the specifics of it, because there's a lot of specifics here. It is just absolutely crazy. I don't know how she'll even try to pay that. But let's get into the trial day. Yeah, $10 million. She lost so hard, and she behaved so foul in court that the jury rewarded Rebecca Schofield $10 million. Yeah, it is so bad. How did she react? Well, we'll get into that. So, and yes, I did confront her. And yes, that will be in my video. And yes, today she was giving me the nastiest stank eye the whole day. She was not happy I was there. But honestly, skill issue. You shouldn't be, wrongfully accusing a innocent professor of quadruple homicide. Like, what are you doing? And then especially when people are like, here's proof that didn't happen. She's not being investigated. And then the dude who actually did it all, he gets not only arrested, but he also gets sentenced. And he's life in prison right now. And she still doesn't back down. Like, she kept defaming Rebecca on TikTok or on internet posts all the way up until August of 2025. So that's pretty recent. Like, it's so crazy. Then on top of that, I mean, dude, in this case, it seemed like she was still trying to allude that Rebecca was the one who did it throughout the damage hearing in front of the jury. Like, there was no remorse. Like, I don't know. It's so sad. So, okay, to start things off, obviously, Ashley wants that jury person kicked off of the jury. And they were like, why? and the judge said, why? I don't really see a reason. All she saw was a headline that you're famous. And, from the case, she's seen that you've gained millions of views on TikTok. So, yeah, that doesn't really change how she perceives the case. So, essentially, the jury member stayed. So, let's see. The judge then asks, after the jury member stayed, and then she leaves, and then all the jury members come in together. We do the whole stand-up, sit-down thing. And then the judge asks, Miss Gilliard, do you want to call a witness? And she goes, I will call myself. Yes. You know it. So this is kind of like yesterday and the day before. It's bad. It sure is bad. So she brings her laptop and notes to the stand, and the judge kind of reacted to it. And the judge said, oh, this is a little atypical that a witness brings stuff. But, because she's also interviewing herself or questioning herself, she kind of can do that as long as, but they do police what's on her monitor and what her notes are. So, yeah, it is very crazy. I am honestly very surprised she didn't start dishing out the tarot cards today. That's what she really should have done. She should have just started dealing them out. That would have been peak entertainment. That would have made everything worth it. So, yeah. And good point. Some person pointed out that she is a psychic. Why does she need a laptop? Gee, who knows? We do get into that, though, because she does say why she concluded that she is a psychic today. So now we can all see why she thinks she's a psychic, and we can make up our own minds to figure out if she is a psychic. So, yeah, we have a lot to get into today. So, Ashley calls herself to the stand to question herself. Okay. Ashley gets sworn in, and the first questions start asking. The first questions are asked, and the way she does it is she goes, question, and then she asks herself the question, and then she goes, answer, and then gives her answer. So that's kind of how she's communicating to herself and to the rest of the courtroom. So she goes, question, what do you do for work? Answer, I have a business, Ashley Gilliard LLC, and I help small businesses and loads of people save money on their taxes and if they need help with their LLC. Question, how much do you earn for work? Answer, sometimes I make $20,000, while wages mostly is between $20,000 to $30,000 a year. Do you have any other income? I have disabled income from being a veteran, which is approximately $40,000 to $50,000 a year. I think the maximum amount you can get from VA, if she has it maxed out, is $4,500 a month. So, yeah. Let's see. Question. What led you to your business and tarot cards? Answer. After high school, I joined the military and I was sent over to Korea. And from Korea, I was deployed to Iraq. And also, I do need to give a disclaimer, just like I gave in all my other streams here. I will be paraphrasing a lot here. I will be kind of summarizing here because they talk fast and there's only so much speed I can do with the typing here. So when they're flying through the sentences, I'm kind of like, okay. So I get most of it, but I have to summarize and paraphrase a bit to keep it short and simple. So, oh yeah, no, of course they're always going to Korea. So she got deployed, she was sent over to Korea, and from Korea she was deployed to Iraq. While I was deployed to Iraq, I was a member of Team Linus. We went on tours with Army and Marines, and we were there to help with surgical equipment because they weren't allowed to touch women. It was 2004 to 2005, and it was a lot of combat activity. I witnessed many, and then she paused for a long time, and then soldiers on base, and then paused, and then paused, and then said sorry because she's getting really emotional here, lose their life when they were there between 2004 and 2005. There were also Iraqi soldiers who lost their life in attempts on my life. So that's kind of like her, that's some important backstory to her. And while, hey, we thank her for her service, it's also very sad that she turned into a very spiteful and disgusting human being later on. Because again, no matter her trauma, Rebecca Schofield didn't deserve what she received from her. So, yeah. Anyway, after her deployment, she didn't return to Korea. And now I'm going to kind of paraphrase from her again. We returned to Colorado. At that time, I had my son. He was just born, and in the unit was already born again. At the time I had my son, he was born, and the unit was already born again. His father was deployed already. He would remain in the Army, and I would go to college. At the time, I would have no idea that the things I witnessed had impacted me in any kind of way. I moved on with my life, and I went to college and took care of my son in Chicago. Her husband was moving to Georgia, and she was taking care of him. Then he was deployed again, and he was deployed in Alaska. So we moved there. We later moved to Indiana, and she was a HR specialist there. And that's when Schofield's counsel objects, because she said there's no question nor answer here. She's just telling a story. So then she locks back into her whole question, answer. So, question, at what point led you to tarot cards? Yeah, apparently Ashley was HR. She is probably the final boss of the HR department. Let's be real. Yeah, no, she was basically just telling a story. So, but anyway, she locks back into her question and answer bit. And question, at what point led you into tarot cards? When I was working for the government, I helped people get promoted and helped many middle and lower class people get jobs inside of the government. But during that time, I decided I wanted something different for myself. I started my spiritual journey and quit my job. I had no money, only $400 a month from VA. And then she locks back into question. Question, what led you to tarot? Answer, through my spiritual journey, I learned about tarot, Buddhism, Hinduism, numerology, and she also name dropped a whole bunch of other stuff that I couldn't catch at one point. So there's a lot of things that affected this apparently. So she then started learning things about connecting with God. And then question, what events took place during her spiritual journey? Answer, through my spiritual journey, I decided to leave my husband and pursue my spiritual journey full time. At that time, my disability increased to 100% due to PTSD. During my husband's deployment, I found out I had PTSD from witnessing soldiers passing. During this time, I learned about tarot cards. So then she kind of got in trouble again because she wasn't asking questions. She was just telling a thing. Yeah, no, she apparently, I mean, it seems like from her story, she left her husband to become a psychic. So, yeah, let's see. At the time, yeah, my disability increased to 100% due to PTSD. During my husband's deployment, I found out I had PTSD from witnessing soldiers passing. During this time, I learned a lot about tarot cards, which I'll ask another question because, she got in trouble for not doing the question answer bit. So then she locks back into that. Question, when do you learn about tarot cards? Answer, I was watching YouTube videos on the duality of mind and knowledge gained from experience, numerology, and other people pulling cards and doing tarot cards. Question, how did you train yourself? Answer, I did so by training myself. When I was crying, I would pull cards, and the message would be that I'm crying or in an emotional state. When watching The Bachelorette, I did a reading on who would win. And when watching the show, that's who ended up winning. She is a psychic, by the way. So this is clear proof she's a psychic. Question: how did you test the accuracy of your readings? Answer: I also get messages intuitively. Sometimes I can't test the accuracy of the message. One time I was driving and I was using the GPS, and the GPS told me to go another way, but my intuition told me the otherwise. I didn't listen to my intuition, but I ended up going to a dead end. So now she's like, oh, I'm a psychic. Oh. She has like a normal human experience of like, oh, this doesn't feel right. Oh, I must be a psychic. And she uses that later on because she does go into detail on why she's a psychic later on. So, then I was driving and my spiritual intuition said something was wrong with my tire, but the car said it was fine. But then I had a flat tire later. Right. So, she's driving her car. She feels, oh, I might have a flat tire here, but maybe a sensor's off, so it's not showing up on her dash. But because she found out it was a flat tire, she is a psychic. So apparently that's what's going on here. It gets worse. Like, as we go, it's all downhill from here, guys. We're just getting started. It's all downhill. I kept on having to pinch myself while sitting in court today. It gets so much worse. Yeah. So I want to introduce Exhibit 520. And 520 is proof that she's a psychic. And this is a screenshot from a text message with her and her aunt. Okay, so the opposing counsel, they go objection based on relevance. And essentially, it seems like Ashley has nobody to testify based on her character, which is why she's sitting there by herself, and on her list of people that were going to testify, or her witnesses, she had a witness list, and she put 4 people down. Ashley Gilliard, Ashley Gilliard, Ashley Gilliard, and Ashley Gilliard. So she wrote herself 4 times. So today, I guess we witnessed 4 different Ashley personalities on the stand. So, yeah. Anyway, so she introduced Exhibit 520, which was a text message with her aunt. And this is apparently proof that she is clairvoyant and is a psychic. So there was an objection for that. And Wendy, who is Professor Schofield's counsel, she said she's vouching for herself, and it's getting to the point where it can confuse the jury. Judge then tells the jury that the image Ashley shows is only to get a read on her state of mind. Don't take anything that she's showing as a fact. Question: what is Exhibit 520? This is the text message between her and her aunt. Answer: on January 20th, 2022, I had a dream, and I took over a lease at my aunt's house. So she had a dream that she took over a lease at her aunt's house, and I texted to her to remove myself from the lease, but I took her word for it, and I didn't remove myself from the lease. Question: what does that mean? Answer: this is just an example of getting a spiritual intuition and then getting gaslit over messages. Introduced Exhibit 507. It's a document of an eviction. So apparently, she had a feeling that her aunt was gonna, screw her over. That could be, from knowing her aunt. Like, there's a lot of character there that we're probably missing out on here. So, she had a dream. She woke up from the dream like, oh, I'm probably gonna get screwed over by my aunt here because my name is on the lease of the house that she's renting. So she goes, hey, can you remove I want to get myself removed from the lease. And I guess her aunt was like, no, I'm not, you're fine. Why do that? We're fine. And then I guess she got an eviction notice. Yeah, her aunt just screwed her over. But that's apparently proof that she's psychic, that she should have just listened to her intuition and removed herself from the lease. So Wendy then sees that and she goes, I want to object on hearsay. And then the judge says, again, ladies and gentlemen, this should only be taken on if she believes what she is saying as that she believes what she's saying at the time of Schofield. Question. Explain what Exhibit 507 is. We're back to Ashley again, by the way. Answer. Around August of 2022, I was looking to move back to Louisiana. My son's dad was leaving Louisiana, and my son wanted to stay in school there. During this time, I found out there was an eviction filed against me. In January, I had a dream warning me. I didn't do it because my aunt said there was no eviction. And eventually, this was a dismissal I got when my aunt appealed. Question. What led you to solving mysterious deaths? Answer. I believe I became passionate about death first from the service and witnessing soldiers passing. Additionally, my grandmother passed away in 2012, and I began having dreams about my grandmother, and the dreams felt very real. Like, how is my son doing? And so on like that. Like, I guess she was having conversations in her dreams, and they felt real. So I realized, in my opinion, people were still around after they passed away, and we can communicate with them. Also, I would like to give more information on what that means by solving mysterious deaths. So I would like to introduce Exhibit 505. Objection. Judge, this is what Gilliard wrote in 2022. It's hearsay, and it shows her spiritual abilities in connection with other mysteries. The validity of her spiritual abilities is not to determine this case, or in this case. You may consider her spiritual abilities only to understand her state of mind. Guys, we're in for a real treat because this is something. So Ashley then goes, introduction. People who commit high-risk crimes do so to try to get away from it. This is systematic. To fool the public, who on average is as dumb as a box of rocks. What they haven't predicted, however, is my ability to tell exactly what happened, even though I was not there. I am Ashley Gilliard, also known as Ashley God. I have many spiritual gifts. I have access to information I wouldn't have unless I was there to experience. I use this to solve mysterious deaths. I use my gifts to give closure to families and for families who never got justice. Read excerpt page 5, she says to herself. I will use my gift of insight and logical reasoning to get her the justice that she deserves. Question. When you used your gifts on the Idaho 4, what did you want to happen? Answer. I wanted to give authorities information. Question. At what point did you get that Schofield would be investigated? Answer. At December 2022, and Moscow police said she wasn't a suspect. I kind of gave up. Well, as we know from the story, she definitely didn't give up. Question. What did you do when you realized Schofield wasn't being investigated? Answer. At the time, I was already sued. So I decided to use this opportunity that could prove Rebecca Schofield was involved in the murders. Ma'am, before you say things about other people, you kind of have to make sure they're true. You have to have some sort of proof. That's how you don't get sued. So she just kind of lobbed it out there, that this woman allegedly committed a quadruple homicide and dated a student. And she committed that quadruple homicide because she didn't want people to find out about allegedly dating that student. Obviously, disclaimer, none of that happened. This person's crazy. But still, she threw all that out there and didn't even think to do any research whatsoever until weeks after she started posting the TikToks. And she didn't properly lock in on doing research until after she was sued because I guess she thought that would save her. She was like, oh, well, if I solve this mystery now, then I won't get got in court. But unfortunately for her, she got pretty hard in court. Like, this is crazy. I have never seen a judgment this big from any influencer defamation, that's for sure. So, yeah, it's crazy now, it's gonna get crazier. So anyway, what was the first thing you did to get objective evidence that Rebecca Schofield was involved in the murders? The first thing I did prior to the lawsuit was in December of 2022, where I submitted my FBI tip by email. By the way, that tip was submitted roughly 2 weeks after she started accusing her of murder. On TikTok, on a public platform, and it was going viral. So, yeah. After that, what was the next thing? Answer. The next thing I did was post a YouTube video. I was already sued at the time, so I posted a YouTube video in hopes someone would see it and do something about it. What does that mean? I have no idea what she means about that, but that statement could easily be seen as a big reason why Rebecca Schofield and her family would be very worried for their lives. That's a crazy thing to say. Okay. This was the plaintiff exhibit number 12 or 511 because I get both sides submitted this exhibit. Shows video, and this is just a TikTok from her. Question: what is exhibit 511? This is a video I posted around February 2023, again, about what I thought happened to the students. I'll play a small clip so it's not 37 minutes of playing this video. And then, yeah, she plays this clip of her really not looking good. Like, you would think that she's kind of on the stand here to help make herself look good. Playing that video does not help whatsoever. So, just everything she's done throughout this entire trial has essentially just made things so much harder for herself. So, yeah. Anyway, so she plays this clip saying that the ex-boyfriend of one of the victims did the murders for Rebecca Schofield, and Rebecca Schofield orchestrated it. We've kind of been through this, but she's playing this, and then she starts ranting about this unfair lawsuit because she is claiming in the video that this really happened. Why am I getting sued? This happened. It didn't. Again, disclaimer, it didn't. I am kind of quoting and paraphrasing from Ashley here. So, question: what else was the third thing that you did to get answers? Answer: next, I subpoenaed Meta Platforms to find a connection between her and her victims. So, again, she has no connection. So what she's trying to do is subpoena Facebook for private information. And she's not going through the correct channels. She's just fishing blindly, essentially. So that's also interesting. So then she shows her subpoena to Meta. Question: what is 503? Answer: Meta Platforms is Facebook, and I requested the production of documents regarding Professor Schofield with the ex-boyfriend, or any of the 4 students who are the victims of the University of Idaho stuff. Question: what became of that subpoena? Answer: a Meta Platforms refused to comply with the subpoena. Who would have thought? I would like to show exhibit defendant 515. Explain number 515. Meta Platforms. They said they didn't have to respond to me because of it being a civil case. Question. What was the next thing that you did to get information on Rebecca Schofield's involvement in the murders? I would like to introduce Exhibit 506. Question. What is this request to the Moscow Police Department? So now she's sending requests. She's fishing. She's on a fishing trip. And apparently she didn't bring any bait, nor a rod really, because she's just lost out here. She's just sitting on a dinghy somewhere out there in the lake doing nothing. Just kind of, she has no sail, no oars. She's kind of floating around doing absolutely nothing, but I guess she's fishing. So essentially, she's requesting any information about the murders from the police department. So it's just like everything. So I requested Moscow Police Department for a copy of all documents regarding the homicides, phone calls, texts, radio traffic, and she listed off a bunch of stuff that I didn't even catch either. Question. What became of that request? Answer. They denied that request. Yeah. Like, what are you gonna do with that information? You didn't even, like, when you read the thing, which will be public soon, you'll be like, oh wow, this was not formulated well at all. So then she would like to enter exhibit 510 or 510. And here they answered. They said the request was vague and non-specific, so they denied it. Question. What did you do next to get information on Rebecca Schofield's involvement in the murders? I then requested access to sealed documents from the ADA county. Right. Like that's gonna work. Okay. So she shows exhibit 513, which is a petition to get access to these sealed documents. So she goes, this is a petition for access for redacted and sealed documents. My name is Ashley Gillard. I currently am being sued by Rebecca Schofield for defamation, so I'm looking for evidence of her connection to the murders. They didn't respond. That's crazy as an email. The email, she says, hi guys, my name's Ashley Gilliard. I'm currently being sued by Rebecca Schofield for defamation, so I'm looking for evidence of her connection to the murders. Ma'am, if you're accusing someone of something, you should have the thing. You shouldn't go looking for the evidence after you accuse them. Ma'am, what are you doing? It's so frustrating to sit there and then read through it again. Like, okay, question. What are you motioning for access to? Answer. I wrote this motion to gain access to the sealed documents of the ADA county and a synopsis of what happened, and I requested AT&T phone records from Brian Koberger and other financial records that I believe connected Rebecca Schofield with one of the victims. So in her like twisted world, what she can do is she can pick a random person and she can be like, well, that person killed someone. Hey, AT&T, I need their phone records right now. I also need their bank records. Stat. Thank you. Like, what? Okay. That's what's going on here. It's so crazy. I keep saying it because it is. Yeah. She has a fool for a client, which she knows herself. So, but hey, but to make it worse, she was absolutely not done fishing whatsoever. So, she started requesting statements from the police officer, Brett Payne. And I also requested bank records from the victims. Like, the victims in all of this They're not here anymore. So now this random TikTok psychic is requesting their bank records? What do you think the family reacts to that? Like, oh my goodness. But that wasn't it. It went way beyond that. So she requested the victims' bank records. She requested DNA evidence from the victims. And she requested information on an abandoned white Elantra that was found in Oregon. So that was apparently some car that was speculated to be a part of the case. I don't know the details around that car. But then, she's not doing her whole question and answer thing, so she has to lock back in to the question and answer. So question, what was the result in the request for those records? Answer, the motion for access was denied. Yep. As a psychic, she really should have seen that one coming. Like, come on. She can't see anything. This is the least self-aware person I've ever witnessed. What Ashley is missing, so what I wrote as notes here is what Ashley is missing is she's now looking for proof after accusing the professor of quadruple homicide dozens of times. But she continues then. Question. Was there anything else that you did to get access to the information about the professor's connection to the murders? Answer. I requested access to records from the University of Idaho for the connection. So now she's going to the school that the victims went to and that the professor went to, which is, Ugh. So, answer. I requested access to the records for the UIO for connection. Question, what has Schofield done to you to continue to distress her? Okay, that's a crazy question. What has Schofield done to you to continue to distress her? Answer, since the beginning of the investigation, there has been nothing but lies spread about me. I know she's good at pulling cards, but I thought she was only pulling tarot cards. Now she's pulling Uno reverse cards and just plopping it down. And she's like, she's spreading lies about me. So obviously that got an objection. So objection, because she's saying opinion. So then she went, okay, I'll restate the question. Question. Why were you not satisfied when not receiving any evidence to support your claims? Answer. I am not against my ability to be wrong. I can be wrong. Everyone in the world could be wrong. My issue was the limited access to documents and information. The evidence I was requesting could prove Rebecca was involved or not involved. However, nobody would provide me with evidence, so I could investigate myself. Ma'am, like, is she that much of a narcissist that she believes she's that much better of an investigator than the dudes that are literally career investigators that are dedicating all of their time to find out who was behind the murders of the 4 University of Idaho students? Like, it's just so crazy. It's gross. Like, I just can't believe this, that like she's this naive. She's this much of a narcissist. Okay, so she thinks she's a better investigator. So she's like, I can't investigate if I don't get the documents. I know she did it. I can't prove it. That's essentially what she's sitting there. So she's fiending or seething essentially because she doesn't have proof. She's just like, I want that person to be in jail. She wants this innocent professor to be in jail at all costs. Okay, so she goes back to the questioning. Question. I would like to present plaintiff's Exhibit 13. Plaintiff Exhibit 13 shows screenshots of videos that they say you posted. So now she's like trying to do this whole thing because Exhibit 13, if you didn't watch yesterday's stream, Exhibit 13 is a Excel spreadsheet essentially of all the videos that Ashley made between about November 22nd, 2022, and somewhere in late December of 2022. So it's about a month. It's maybe like a month and a week. But there's roughly between 113 and 115 videos on that Excel spreadsheet. So yeah, and there was like some arguments because I heard numbers 113, 114, and 115, and they kind of went in circles around that a little bit today. But so she shows that, and she starts the first video. Question: is the first video about Rebecca Schofield? Answer: it's not about her. It's a 15-second video about the students. Question: is the second video about Rebecca? Answer: the second video is a 5-second clip of what I believe is her role to be in the murder of the students. So yeah, the second video was about her, but you know, because it was only a 5-second clip where she literally said that she committed this. It's only 5 seconds, guys. Like, come on. Question: the third and fourth video, are they about Rebecca Schofield? Answer: they're about what I believe her role is and what happened to the students. Question: are any of these videos in regards to the students? Answer: the first one is, the second one isn't. Question: the videos on page 4, are they about Rebecca Schofield? Answer: no, the videos on page 4, they're not about Rebecca Schofield. Fun fact though, what she's not mentioning here is they're still tagged. She still tags Rebecca Schofield. So she's pushing Rebecca Schofield's name up in the search algorithm. So when you search Rebecca Schofield, you're getting the University of Idaho murders. So yes, that's still including her. It's inserting her into the narrative. So it's crazy. Are any of the videos on page 6 about Schofield? None of them about Schofield. Are any of them about Schofield? So she just keeps doing this page by page by page by page. None. Page 10. Are any of these videos on page 10 about Schofield? None of them are about Schofield. Thank you. So I guess she thanks herself, which is interesting. Question: did you recruit a vigilante to go and harm Professor Schofield or her family? Answer: no. Question: did you contact Schofield in any way? Answer: no. I didn't contact or threaten her in any kind of way. Question: are you aware of an alleged email? Answer: no. I have no connection to her, rather real or fake email. So now she's like also doubting the email that she received as a threat. So she's like, I have no connection to this rather real or fake email. Who knows? Question: are you responsible for Schofield's physical health? Answer: I'm not, because I didn't cause any physical harm, diabetes, or anything. That's what she responded to that. And that was the end of Ashley questioning herself for now. She'll be back. Okay. Now, Wendy is going to question her now. So this is Rebecca Schofield's counsel goes up and starts questioning Ashley. I want to start with your 505 exhibit. We can turn to page 2 and look at the exhibit, which is the book. And then she wants to zoom in on the copyright of the book, which is crazy because what's the name of the LLC? And then Ashley goes, Ashley Gilliard Live in Fantasyland LLC. So it's either live in Fantasyland or live in Fantasyland. I don't know ever, but she called a company, Ashley Gilliard Live in Fantasyland LLC. That's what the copyright of the book is. So then she asks her, what's your name in the introduction? So she answers, Ashley God. Can you turn to page 4? What does it say here? Ashley God. And if we go to this first paragraph, due to the magnitude Okay, so she went to the first paragraph. So then now Ashley's reading. Due to the magnitude, I was able to solve this case in less than 48 hours. So then uh, Wendy asks, Miss Horzer died in 2018, correct? Well, in 2019, it was ruled as accidental. And then Ashley goes, that's what they said. So, context here, Ashley wrote a book on how she solved some murder. By the way, no one's been convicted. So she claims she solved this murder in like 24 to 48 hours. Nothing's came from that, by the way. It was ruled an accident, but according to Ashley, she solved it. So that's interesting. So then she asks, did you read into it before your book at all? And Ashley responded, I looked into it. I swear, she probably just like started like just like throwing down like tarot cards as she was writing her book, and then she was like, I solved it. I saw, like, you know, like the meme from The Office where he's like was that from The Office? I don't know. The meme where he's like tying the red thread of everything on a corkboard with the tarot cards and everything. That's what she was doing as she was writing this book, I'm assuming. So as far as like law enforcement, nobody has been charged with the death of Tamar Halsburn. I think that's what her name was. I'm not fully sure. That's the name I thought I heard. So she goes, correct. And if you know there's a difference between there's a difference between talking to your aunt and accusing someone of quadruple homicide, right? Ashley responds, I don't see the relevance. So Wendy goes, and you've said yourself that you have PTSD. When you question Rebecca Bond, which was yesterday, because, you know, she was really going in on the mental health professional that diagnosed Rebecca Schofield on her PTSD diagnosis. So that's why she was like pulling up the DSC-5M, I think it was called, which is essentially she was pulling up the manual to diagnose someone with PTSD. And she was really being a stickler on how the wording is. And she was only kind of arguing based on her own interpretation of it. So, and not of the actual mental health professional's interpretation of this standard. So, DSM-5, correct. So, yes. So Ashley was arguing based on her interpretation and not based on the actual professional's interpretation on it. So anyway, we go back to that. When you question Rebecca, you looked up that information then, or did you know it from before? And she said that she looked up that information then, because she claims that she said, I was actually diagnosed by a real doctor. Like, that's what she was saying there. So apparently she didn't look into the DSM-5. That was her response there. Okay. So they were kind of like, okay, let's move on here. This is interesting that she's given that kind of attitude here. Do you recognize Exhibit 29? Yes. Is that you traveling? So they're posting pictures of her having a very lavish vacation in abroad, like in Europe, in Asia. She's traveling around. She's spending some money here, and it's very clear she's spending some serious money here. So, is that you traveling? Yes. And I assume you pay. Sometimes I pay. Sometimes other people pay. And I now want to look at Exhibit 30. Do you recognize that? Yes. Is that a social media post that you've made about your travels? Yes. So that's her. If I remember correctly, she's like laying in bed in London or something like that. And then she shows another one. Is this a social media post you made about on your travels? And she's like in Italy and so on. And she goes, yes. Is that another travel you had where either you paid or someone else paid for you? Yes. And then she shows videos of her in Paris getting her nails done. Then she shows her unboxing a purse and stuff from the Amalfi Coast. and a whole bunch of designer perfume. She also bought a whole bunch of Chanel, and she shows that off in the video. She talks about how much she loves Chanel. Then she shows herself unbox like this insane amount of perfumes, makeup, and skincare. Then she talks about buying Gucci. And apparently she bought all of this in Naples. And she's just flexing this on her Instagram as she's actively being sued. She did this in 2025. So the lights are on, but no one's at home, apparently. So she goes, Miss Gilliard, that reflects purchases you made while you were in Italy and France, correct? She goes, yeah, that was Italy and France in 2025. Miss Gilliard, do you recognize this post, Exhibit 44? Yes. Where were you? It says Dior Gold House. What does that mean? It's a Christian Dior cafe. Do you recognize this exhibit? Yes. When was this? 2025. And this was like the most diabolical picture because it showed her doing like a money spread. Like she was doing like a full-on money spread, like in a fan. Or I guess not. No, spreads like this. No, she was doing a money fan. So she was stunted up in Thailand with a money fan. And she goes, do you recognize this? She's like, yes. What's that? So she goes, well, that was my rent money. And you rented in Thailand, right? Yes. And your rent was $2,000 a month there. And she said, yeah, it's between $2,000 and $2,100 a month. And you only came back to the US for this trial, right? Correct. And to check my mail. You posted your first TikTok specifically naming Rebecca Schofield in November 22, or the 22nd of November, 2022. Correct. That's the subpoena you made to Meta, right? Correct. And you submitted that 9 months after you accused her. So then Ashley was like, well, it was actually 8 months. So Wendy goes, my apologies. It does tell you why you can't have the content correct. And Ashley goes, yeah, correct. So Meta did give her an answer on why she can't, get access to anyone's private Facebook information just by requesting it. It says you have to follow federal law to get information like this. And Ashley goes, correct. You do have the ability to serve additional subpoenas, correct? Correct. You can issue further subpoenas and follow the law and the steps they recommend to take, but you didn't follow up. So Ashley goes, no, the subpoena was quashed. But the judge, so Wendy then went, but the judge told you ways that you could follow up and actually get the information. And Ashley went, I think it was another motion or something like that. And you didn't file that motion? Correct. And this request for information on Rebecca Schofield is filed nearly 3 years later for information. So she's trying to dig up dirt on Rebecca Schofield to cover her slander 3 years after slandering her, way into the lawsuit. It's so crazy. So her response to that was, well, they were sealed and it wasn't my fault. Then they showed another petition for access to redacted information that she filed. And that was 2.5 years after accusing her of the murders. So, yeah. And Ashley responded to that, I was not in control that the documents were sealed. Okay. Well, let's look at 517. In Exhibit 517, you made a formal motion when your email wasn't responded to. And Brian Koberger was already represented by defense attorneys. Why don't you think his defense attorney wouldn't go? So this is where it gets interesting. So she starts actually pushing her on, she's trying to solve the murders here. So she's like, well, why wouldn't Brian Koberger's defense attorneys be interested in this information? If you have all this information, you're pointing them the right directions. Why are they not interested in this? Like, oh my goodness. So, so essentially, Ashley is like, oh, but they were overran. They didn't have time to look at all the information. That's what her response was to, the people who were professionally hired to actually do the work here. So then Wendy goes, but they didn't reach out to you for you to tell them everything about Rebecca Schofield. Their sole job was to find the information. How many times did you reach out to them? And Ashley goes, I never reached out to them. And then Wendy then said, you realize they have access to all of the documents that you claim are sealed and are gone, or that are sealed and so on, that she doesn't have access to. So if you tipped them, they could actually check. Yeah, no, it's so bad. So then, again, Ashley goes, they were overwhelmed and they couldn't go through all the evidence. Their job is to go through all the evidence. Like, what are you talking about? They were overwhelmed. Of course they're overwhelmed, but their job is to go through all the evidence. Like, come on. Oh, so you think, so she goes, oh, so you think his defense attorneys, whose sole job is to go through all the evidence, didn't have time to go through all the evidence? And Ashley goes, that's my understanding of the case. So Wendy pivots. So way into 2025, you made statements about Rebecca Schofield. Correct. Do you have control when you make public statements and what efforts you make prior to making public statements? Yes. From my understanding, I didn't need to hold a document to tell my truth. You didn't need to have facts to accuse someone of murder. I need to read that with some more emphasis. She went, you didn't need to have facts to accuse someone of murder? So Ashley goes, I didn't make a statement of fact. I rendered a tarot card reading, which I don't believe can be ruled as a fact because it's opinion. So Wendy went, well, the court ruled differently. Because, the court has already found her liable for defamation here. And Ashley went, I don't know about that. Well, the court ruled differently. I don't know about that. Like, what? What do you mean you don't know about that? Were you not present? Like, you were involved in this case. You were found liable. What do you mean? I don't know about that. Oh, man. Okay. So even after Koberger was arrested, you described in detail how she still ordered the murders. Ashley went, I was trying to help. You posted that video on X date saying that she ordered the murders, correct? Correct. So the first thing you did for 16 days was you posted on TikTok about the murders. And anytime you identified the person who orchestrated the murder, it was Rebecca Schofield. And then she went, false. I started with a teacher, and that's when I did my research on the website. So Wendy goes, your first TikTok was on November of 2022, and the very next day, you posted the initial TikTok about Schofield. Correct. Let's take a look at Exhibit 13, which is already in the evidence, and that's the Excel sheets of all of the TikToks. You would agree that this has 58 pages, correct? Correct. And then I guess Ashley decided to double check, and then she went, yeah, correct. Because Ashley's desperate to try to get any weird gotcha, because that's, in her head, that's winning in court. If you can kind of do a quick little, oh, no, it wasn't 57, it was 58. That's a win for her, it seems like. Like, she would get giddy every time she got a quick, actually, this is the right detail. So that happened a lot throughout this. She was extremely smug throughout the entire hearing on all days. So Then they go, if you flip back to page 57, that's the end of the TikToks. And there's 2 per page. So if you multiply 57 times 2, that's 114, right? So then Ashley went, well, you said it was 113 yesterday. So Wendy then went, well, 57 times 2 is 114, right? And Ashley went, well, the math is correct. And if we look into the file name, you see Rebecca Schofield's name in the file name. And what they're talking about here is the hashtags. These are, Wendy is probably late 50s, early 60s. That's my guess. So she's not fully up to date on the correct terms for everything is my guess here. How you doing, Emily? Thank you. Thank you for stopping by. And thank you all of you guys for the support, all the donations, all the memberships. You guys are awesome. Thank you guys so much. Yeah, so essentially Wendy starts bringing up the hashtags because in all the videos, or pretty much all the videos where she's talking about the University of Idaho students, she's mentioning Rebecca Schofield in a hashtag, regardless if the video is talking directly about Rebecca Schofield or not. Because again, it seems like she's trying to boost, when you search Rebecca Schofield, suddenly all the University of Idaho murders come up. So it really seems like she's trying to tie Rebecca Schofield's name with this. And I don't know if she's doing this on purpose or if she's, I don't know, just trying to make some sort of like sordid series. But she asks her, these are your videos and these are your file names, right? Or hashtags, right? And essentially what happened there was you had a weird interaction where Ashley went, I don't know where you got that information. So Wendy said something around the lines of, I'm paraphrasing, you're not contending that we're submitting false information, right? And she went, no. These are your TikToks, correct? Correct. And then they talk about her original story. Some of the videos were, about, general tarot card reading and so on. So they start going through like the whole, Ashley Gilliard fanfic of the situation that we're currently covering. Your story was that 2 of the murderers were killed just because, no, your story was that 2 of the victims were killed just because they were there and they were not a target. Correct. And you attribute this to Rebecca Schofield. Correct. Next video. So then she's asking, like, essentially, you attribute everything to Rebecca Schofield, and she goes, false. Everything isn't about Rebecca Schofield. Kaylee had other exes. Kaylee is one of the victims, by the way. I'm trying not to name too many people that are victims in this case unless it's absolutely necessary, because, they've essentially been tormented by this. Well, obviously they had to go through it, but now it keeps on getting brought up in the media because of this case for 3 years and 3 months. So, which is why I'm just saying ex-boyfriend a lot. But I do have to name a name here. So, and you were saying that Rebecca Schofield was jealous of one of the other victims named Madison, because in her stupid fanfic, she said that they were in a relationship, right? But completely baseless, fake. That it's all in Ashley Gilliard's head. And you had hashtags so people could find and organize that content. Yes. And the very first one had the address of the university and of the University of Idaho, and stated that the professor orchestrated the murderers, likely because that she was involved with one of the students. So this was essentially a workplace and phone number docs saying, this person's a murderer. And then Ashley starts arguing semantics. She's like, I don't think that was the first video. So Wendy went, but that was the storyline, correct? Correct. Then if we look at page 9, in one of the later videos, you said, You were worried that Rebecca Schofield would lose her possessions. So Ashley went, well, not in that video specifically. And in this video, you for sure called her a murderer. Well, not only her, also the ex-boyfriend. So she named him again. Yes. You've never seen any evidence connecting that young man to the murders. And Ashley responded, they never released documents. So she didn't say, no, I've never seen the evidence. No, she was just like, I've never seen the documents. They don't share the documents with me, so I can't prove that my theory is fake. So therefore it's true. That's essentially the whole logic here. Wendy then said, again, about the connection, there's no connection here. And Ashley went, false. He was also investigated, and he was living right next to them. So therefore, she automatically is like, well, he did it. Yep, case closed. He was investigated, and he lived right nearby. He did it, guys. Like, come on. So then she goes on to say, but in November of 2022, that information was not released. So Wendy went, but you went ahead and you accused the ex-boyfriend and Schofield of this without any proof. Well, there wasn't any released yet. The screenshots, and then they show the TikTok, was after you received the cease and desist. And then you started posting in detail about her. So they kind of they went on from there. They moved on from the ex-boyfriend thing to later on, because that's when she started posting a lot. And she started posting a lot about Rebecca Schofield after the cease and desists. So Ashley is saying, well, I was doing tarot card readings on her because I was finding out more information on her. And then she shows another TikTok saying that the ex-boyfriend of Rebecca did it again. And she said, I did this because people wanted evidence, so I posted that for my followers. Again, she has no evidence. And again, by the way, I am paraphrasing here because this questioning was going super fast. So I kind of just had to paraphrase the gist of the conversation here. And you knew that you didn't have evidence nor facts. Again, it was a tarot card reading. And you believe that Rebecca orchestrated the murders, correct? Yes. So that was basically confirmation that she still believes this to this day. Which is so crazy that she's still stuck on that. There is no proof still. She hasn't seen anything other than her tarot cards. Her tarot cards, her oracle cards, and her spiritual intuition is the only thing that's leading her to believe that that her version of the story is true. So then they show another TikTok of her saying that Rebecca wanted to be in a relationship with a woman, which is also complete slander because she's married to a guy. She's had a husband for years, over a decade. Ugh. And again, this wasn't based on a single fact. And then she goes, it was a tarot card reading. Correct. I didn't know anything about her. So she did say that there. That's kind of, that's interesting. So page 49. On the top caption, it says, who is Rebecca Schofield part 4? Exploring love, travel, etc. And you had no facts on her, correct? Correct. Then she shows a TikTok where Ashley has a TikTok that says, Rebecca, their death. So this is Ashley fake quoting Rebecca. Rebecca did not say this whatsoever. Rebecca did not think this. This is Ashley's LARP. Rebecca said their death was the only thing that could keep their secret safe. That's in Ashley's story events. And Wendy said, and again, you had zero facts proving this. And Ashley went, correct. Thank you, Ms. Gillard. So now Ashley returns because Wendy sits down and, since Ashley is also her own attorney, she is her own client. So then she gets to redirect herself. So now it gets crazy again. So Miss Gilliard gets the option to redirect her on herself after Wendy's. Question: why did it take a couple years to request documents regarding Schofield's involvement? Answer: for 3.5 years, the records were sealed. There was a gag order. I did everything I could to get access to these records and submitted a tip. I don't see anything I could have done any further to get access to the documents which implements Rebecca Schofield to this. Gee, maybe you shouldn't accuse her of murder then. I may have posted about 20 to 30 videos about Rebecca Schofield, but they were 60 seconds or less, meaning in the last 3 years, I posted about Rebecca Schofield for a total of 30 minutes. That's a flat out lie. On the stand, lying. Crazy. Anyway, Miss Gilliard, do you have any additional information to present you for your case? No, I do not. And then you have closing arguments next. Waiting for the courtroom during the break of the closing arguments. What? Oh yeah, no, now I'm reading my notes. So when I pasted over my notes, some of them got completely jumbled. So I tried to fix them all, but yeah. So now, okay. So the closing arguments are next. We're waiting in the courtroom during this break and for the closing arguments. What they have to decide is essentially if the plaintiff was damaged by the statements, and if so, how much she's owed. And the amount of money that would reasonably remedy that. So now we have the ending statement case. So Rebecca Schofield's, okay, so ending statements, starting with Wendy. So Rebecca Schofield's counsel starts first. Rebecca Schofield's nightmare began in November 22nd, 2023. As you saw in the evidence in this case, she told the Professor Schofield ordered the murders and did so because she was having a relationship with the student victim. And she made 112 more TikToks after that video. And as of late, August of 2025, she made a video alluding to Rebecca Schofield was connected to the murders. And she has never had any fact or evidence that Schofield had a relationship with the students, as Ashley stated that she didn't need facts. Now, it's up to you to determine how much damages she owes Schofield, and the damages were caused by false statements posted on TikTok, again and again, of being behind the quadruple homicide and having an inappropriate relationship with a student. Here, the rule of the university, it's forbidden at this university to date a student. So that's unacceptable regardless. So then she shows more TikToks of her slander, and then she shows videos that there would be other people. And okay. So she shows a video of Ashley saying that there's other people involved with this make-believe relationship between the student and Rebecca Schofield. So Wendy's arguing here, okay, well, if there was other people involved, where are they? Because they would be able to prove this. But she continues by saying, but they're not. Then you also have the screenshot of the TikTok video where she's accusing her of homicide and dating a student with her name as a hashtag on TikTok with thousands of likes on it. Professor Schofield is seeking 2 types of damages: compensative damages and punitive damages. So let's talk first about the compensatory damages. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. If I'm not pronouncing that one correctly, shit. that means that you must be persuaded by the evidence. And I would say the evidence is overwhelming. Every witness testified about the damages caused to Schofield. Compensatory damages is the amount of money that would reasonably compensate Ms. Schofield for the damages, for the harm to her professional reputation, for the emotional and the mental pain, and the reasonable value for treatment and care from this and in the future for the rest of her life. The evidence that you saw was the receipts from Dr. Bond. And I see a lot of people are saying, what evidence? I'm talking from Wendy. This is Schofield's counsel talking now. So they've showed all the evidence that, like, there's no doubt that Ashley completely defamed her and completely destroyed the life of Rebecca as she knew it. Rebecca's life has forever been changed because of Ashley's defamation here. So there's so much evidence proving that Ashley defamed her. So that's without a doubt. So that's what is going on here. So just to clarify that. The evidence you saw there were for the receipts from Dr. Bond, and she's showing a bunch of receipts from just her medical treatment and so on. And the first total of the receipt was $4,530. So that was just like a small tidbit of her medical treatment that she's been having. Then you have the professional career. Ashley's defamation harmed Rebecca's reputation. The sky was the limit for Rebecca Schofield before the false statements. Now, after, there will always be concerns when universities hire or potentially want to hire her. Again, I'm paraphrasing here a little bit. To no fault of her own, Rebecca will always have to answer to questions about these allegations, or worse, have them asked behind her back when she's not there. Witness said a reputation can take up to 40 years to repair. Winning a defamation case can help that. For Rebecca, her professional networks were affected. The students who take her class and look at her teachers yeah, okay, so I botched that one. But yeah, so essentially, like, this damaged the teacher-student relationship or the professor-student relationship, and these false allegations would always be a part of her work as a professor. The reputation that she testified to you is that she worked so hard and for so long to build the reputation that she testified to you that she worked so hard and for so long to build was completely jeopardized by Ashley Gilliard. If you Google her name, the Moscow murders come up immediately. I would show that the evidence overwhelmingly showed that she experienced mental health suffering every day for 3 years. She testified about the mental health. And the first day, when she saw the TikTok sent to her email, she was afraid. And that night, she laid in her son's bed, terrified that someone was going to come break into the house. And the context of the son's bed is because the son's bed was apparently the closest to the staircase. So that would be the closest to stop an intruder if they decide to come up the staircase. Including letting her parents bring a gun over to their house for protection. She also started receiving phone calls and emails from people that she didn't know. She didn't sleep. She cried a lot. She felt like she was dissolving under debilitating headaches, nerve problems, and so on. She was worried. She started taking mental health counsel. She takes sleeping medication and antidepressants. Ms. Bond testified that she treated and diagnosed Rebecca Schofield, and she said it was clear that Rebecca Schofield has PTSD. She testified that Rebecca Schofield's case was unique, but there was no doubt that the repeated allegations of committing quadruple homicide and having an affair with the student was traumatizing. Rebecca Schofield was corroborated by the other people who testified. Dean said that she was strong and recipient, but she could still see the strain. But he could still see the strain and exhaustion on her face. And John testified that she let's see. And John testified that the accusations on TikTok completely ended her family. Ended her family life. And John, who was her husband, testified the accusations on TikTok completely ended her family life and changed all of their protocols for their family and her children. And then there was her mother, who watched her daughter become a different person after Miss Gilliard's TikToks. And remember, she never watched the TikToks, but she saw her daughter. She saw her daughter lose sleep. She saw her daughter lose the ability to get things done. She saw the lack of sleep and the fatigue, and she saw the person who used to be the glue of the family not be that anymore. She no longer has the same daughter. That is the damage that Gilliard caused her for 3 years and 3 months. What you have to find. Schofield must show acts which caused injury to plaintiff where an extreme deviation from reasonable standards of conduct. And then it continues because I didn't catch that. So I'll pull up that document in a second here. Shout out to Emily for actually sending me that. Shout out Emily D. Baker for sending me this one. Okay. I'll pull that up in a second though. And then what could be more extreme deviation of falsely accusing a person who you have never met of orchestrating the murders of the students where you taught at? Stating a person that you never met had a relationship, an inappropriate relationship with one of her students. Miss Gilliard had no facts to back her statement. She knew that, and that's outrageous. How can you make a false statement of a quadruple homicide and a relationship with a student? And she showed that she clearly only went to the police and tried to investigate after she posted the TikToks. She posted on November 22nd, and on November 28th, Schofield sent the cease and desist. She just wanted Gilliard to stop, but she wouldn't stop. Rebecca then sent Ashley another cease and desist, and Mrs. Gilliard still did not stop. Instead, she posted TikToks where she told her audience that she had received the cease and desist, and told her audience and told Rebecca Schofield and her team that they could kiss her ass. Literally, that's what she said. And then she showed a video of her placing the cease and desist as toilet paper so she could wipe her ass with it. Then she made a 16-part series where she said, "Who is Rebecca Schofield?" And she did all of that after the cease and desist and telling them to kiss her ass. So that was malicious. The sheer volume was malicious. Even after that, Brian Koberger, the guy who actually was sentenced for doing all this, it didn't stop. And on February 9th of 2023, Brian was now suddenly a part of the story because, that's when they arrested him. But he still, for some reason in her storyline, wasn't the murderer. It was still the ex-boyfriend, and it was still being orchestrated by Rebecca Schofield. Then, in a video of Ashley sitting in her Maserati, she continued to slander. Then on August 20th, 2025, Ashley still posted a video claiming Rebecca had a connection to this. My throat is struggling from reading for like an hour and 20 minutes on like 1 hour of sleep in the last 24 hours. We're continuing though. And then in August 20th, 2025, Ashley still posted a video claiming Rebecca had a connection, showing a white Subaru that Rebecca and her husband had bought from a dealership. They bought that Subaru in 2019, by the way. And then suddenly they were claiming that Kaylee sold it to them in like 2022. So that doesn't add up at all. It doesn't match. Oh, it's so stupid. This person's just spewing nonsense with zero facts. This can't be anything else than conduct that is malicious. Let me address what I think Miss Gilliard. Let me address what I think, Miss Gilliard. Second, there is no doubt that her emotional harm was caused by Gilliard's TikToks. This was not about solving mysterious deaths. Take a look at this document. She said that she was able to solve a case in less than 24 hours, something that law enforcement couldn't do. But we also know that there's no fact behind that. Nobody has ever been charged with a crime. She knew that, and she knew that she could say things and they didn't have to be facts. Just like she never once solved the mysteries of the University of Idaho students. Law enforcement did that. When she sent that in, she never once mentioned that her evidence was from tarot card readings. So now she's mentioning the FBI tip. So all of the tips and stuff, she never said, oh, I got this from tarot card readings. So, it's being alluded that was on purpose as well. Let's see. So when you decide how much to reward Schofield, you will complete the special verdict form. 1, was she damaged? So then they ask if she's proved that. She's met the burden of proof. And then you will have to address how much money to award her. How much money will begin to compensate Schofield for fear, stress, restlessness, impact on her own reputation that she's experienced for the last 3 years and 3 months. How much would it take to compensate her for accusing her for murder over and over and over and over again and having an affair with a student? How much would it take to compensate her for all of her restless nights and for her laying in her son's bed wondering if anyone is going to come for her or her family? And how much money will compensate for the anxiety, stress, PTSD, and everything else that will follow with her for life? Because that hasn't changed. We ask for at least $1 million in compensatory. I am cooked on these terms. And compensate damage and compensatory damages. And how much in punitive damages would it take for her to stop? And to be certain, these punitive damages are very important. If you accept what Gilliard says, that tarot card readers don't need facts, they can say whatever they want. I know what facts are, but I don't need to make facts when I say my allegations, or I don't need facts when I make allegations. Why would she stop? And why would anyone else hesitate to do the same thing? This is what punitive damages are for. So, yeah, that's what Wendy said. And I thought Wendy crushed it here. I am not doing Wendy justice because I am paraphrasing. She did it infinitely better than me. Kudos to them. They deserve all their flowers. But now, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for Ashley Gilliard's closing argument. Whew. And this one was crazy. This was the worst one, honestly. So unironically, Ashley does stack the papers just like I did there. So she gets up, she does this whole thing. And members of the jury, that's what she starts off with. And now I'm just going to be paraphrasing her. It's not word for word, but this was the message. I try to do my best to keep it as word for word as possible, but I will be paraphrasing a little bit. Members of the jury, sometimes people do things we do not like. Sometimes they have, in my case, good intentions. However, despite how we feel about them, you cannot award damages for damages that do not exist. Professor Schofield's career was not affected by my 30 minutes of content. Her boss testified that not on his watch would anything happen to her career, and that she's been promoted since the posting of my videos. Schofield's expert witness, Rebecca Talent, testified speculatively that in 10 years she could suffer damages. But again, There's absolutely no evidence to suggest that my TikTok videos has right now, or in the past right now, negatively impacted Schofield's career. There has been no evidence from the medical professional that suggests that her symptoms were caused by my TikToks. Instead, you have her family and friends here to get multiple millions of dollars in damages that do not exist. Bruh. It goes on. The evidence shows that strangers all around the world donated to Schofield less than a year ago, $22,000 plus. And they also offered her words of encouragement. They also said that she was supported by friends and family, and in her professional career. And there is no evidence that shows that I made an intentional false statement. The evidence shows that I believe my tarot cards. I reached out to any and everyone to find out if my statements were true, but nobody answered, and that's not my fault. Bro. My thing is, I can do the best I can to get justice for the victims. Military taught me service. Spirituality taught me to use my gifts. It's reasonable in my shoes for me to believe that she was a part of these murders. She was not arrested, and she's still teaching. What does that mean? Okay, anyway. It is reasonable for me to warn the community if I think there's a killer on the loose. It is reasonable for me to warn the public and the community if something isn't right. It's reasonable just because I am a psychic and I can't speak unless the law enforcement gives me the documents. Everyone was uncertain except Schofield and her family, who didn't lock their doors after it happened. She's still a very stickler on it. I guess she can't fathom that some families live in safe communities and they don't need to lock their doors. That she's still stuck on it. So she's like, but the murders happened and they didn't lock their doors at night. So what's going on here? Like, they must have done it, or else they would have locked their doors. Like, that's what it seems like she's trying to move the parallel to. It's unreasonable just because I'm a psychic, I can't speak unless the law enforcement gives me documents. That's such a crazy statement to say. Like, what is going on? Yeah, and then again, everyone was uncertain except for Schofield and her family, who didn't lock their doors after it happened. And when people reached out to me, I made it my duty to find out what happened because the law enforcement wasn't releasing information, so I did my best, the best I could, to release any information I could find to help the public. I reached out to the people who have the authority to get the evidence, to go and get the evidence. There's no proof that my TikToks ruined her life. Putting a lock on your door is a normal thing to do. Getting security cameras is a normal thing to do. She hasn't been targeted by vigilantes. It didn't affect her job. In fact, they didn't even believe it. Any harm she felt was her own choice. That's a crazy statement. Any harm she felt was her own choice. They want $1 million in compensatory damages. There's no evidence that all of her symptoms have anything to do with me. Her expert testified she can't get PTSD from a TikTok video. And then she suddenly goes, "May I?" And then I guess she plugs in her computer to the prompter. Or projector. And then she brings up she brings up the DSM-5 document again. In her closing argument. So she plugs her computer in and she's like, "This is the DSM-5 document." And she's been doing this throughout the entire trial. So everyone almost had a sigh of oh boy, here we go again. As soon as that document came up, everyone started rolling their eyes. So then she, brings up the DSM-5 document to claim that Rebecca doesn't actually have PTSD, or that's what it seems like she was alluding to here. So she reads the DSM-5 again to try to refute that Rebecca has PTSD. And then she goes, "Thank you. Without damages to her professional career, without damages that can be attributed to me for my TikToks. You cannot award damages and compensatory damages to Schofield. I have provided substantial evidence that I did not make an intentional false statement. I provided evidence that from my videos and from my reaching out to law enforcement, I was simply trying to get evidence for the students. When you are filing out on the form, you must file no to compensative damages because I didn't cause them. And no. When you're filing out on the form, you must file no to the compensative damages because I didn't cause them. And no to that she's only entitled to $1 in nominal damages." Yeah. So the only thing she ended, there was no apology, no nothing. She was just like, I didn't do this. The only thing that she deserves here is $1. They lied. She doesn't have PTSD. My TikToks, 3 years of me literally slandering a woman of a quadruple homicide did nothing to her. Absolutely nothing. No damage. No damage is done. What are you guys tripping about? That's crazy, guys. So after that statement, Wendy had to go back again. So she said, Miss Gilliard's, so now this is Rebecca Schofield's counsel again. Miss Gilliard's arguments are the same as I predicted. When she tells you that she's just trying to do justice, I imply you to watch all of the TikToks that we put in those videos. When she tells you that she's trying to do justice, I imply you to watch all of the TikToks. We only showed small portions of the videos in open court. Then ask yourself if Ashley had the best interest in those students and for justice, or did she have likes, shares, and the number of viewers that she would get in mind? Take a look at Exhibit 11. Take a look at Exhibit 11. She posted this video after TikTok banned her account. Ms. Gilliard testified that she just wanted the information out there. And I reached out afterward, and I couldn't control that nobody didn't want to give me anything. Like, yeah, it's crazy reading through it again. Like the how Ashley behaves is, I mean, it's one of a kind. This is the craziest thing I've ever seen. But yeah, Wendy continues by saying, but she is in control of the statements she made. That was within her control, and she chose to post without the facts. If you're going to accuse someone of murder, shouldn't you have the facts first? You heard she's not remorseful. She still hasn't apologized. Only if punitive damages are rewarded, and only if severe punitive damages are rewarded, she will finally stop. Yeah. So that's crazy. So then court was over. That was it. The jury went back to their room and started deciding. And that's when the waiting game started. And I was running on like 1 hour of sleep. So I was very cooked, to put it lightly. And I ended up going outside. And I got in my car and I fell asleep in my car. And that was bad. That was really bad. But there was a hero. The hero of the day is there's another creator that was in the room with me, who I ended up talking to a little bit, and we kind of shared notes on the case because we just wanted to report we just wanted to report the case in the best possible way. But this hero came out and woke me in my car and was like, oh, people are going back inside. So I went, ah! and immediately got up and then ran in. And I put her channel in the description of this stream because I wouldn't have what I'm about to read, or I wouldn't have witnessed what we're about to read if it wasn't for her. So it would be awesome if you guys went to her channel and subscribed, because she did a massive clutch here today. So keep that in mind. Okay, so next we have the special verdict form. So this is the verdict. This is the outcome of the case. And the United States District Court, District of Idaho. Rebecca Schofield is the plaintiff versus Ashley Gilliard, the defendant. We the jury, being duly impaneled and sworn to try above entitled case, do find our verdict as follows. Question 1, do you find, oh my goodness, I'm reading this and I'm like, oh, I'm cooked. These are words I have never learned how to pronounce because I'm raised in Norway and I learned to read right online, not through vocally. All right, I'm gonna try my best here, guys. Give me a break, please. Question 1, do you find by preponderance of evidence that defendant's false statements that plaintiff had an inappropriate romantic relationship with a student damaged plaintiff? Yes. If you answered yes to question 1, then answer question 2. If you answered no to question 1, then go to question 5. Okay, so I'm going to start skipping those little tiny details there. So question 2, state the amount of compensatory damages related to the defendant's false statements that plaintiff had in the appropriate romantic relationship with a student. So on question 2, for the compensatory damages revolving the inappropriate romantic relationship, she was awarded $1 million just for that. But there's more. Then they said yes to question 3. So then the amount for that. So state the amount of punitive damages related to defendant's false statements that plaintiff had in an inappropriate romantic relationship with a student. $2.5 million. So then they said yes to option 5 or question 5. So then, because they said yes to question 5, they have to state the amount of compensatory damages related to the defendant's false statements that plaintiff orchestrated the murder of 4 students at the University of Idaho. $1.5 million. Then, question 7. Do you find, by clear and convincing evidence, that defendant's false statements that plaintiff orchestrated the murder of the 4 students at the University of Idaho warrant punitive damages? Yes. State the amount of punitive damages related to defendant's false statements that plaintiff orchestrated the murder of the 4 students at the University of Idaho. $5 million. Which brings the grand total to $10 million. That is the biggest reward for any individual defamation case in Idaho ever. By like 10x. I think the second biggest reward in Idaho for a defamation case to an individual, not a company, was $1 million. So this is a massive thing. And just to put it in context, guys, this is crazy. So obviously you guys know the Johnny Depp and Amber Heard trial, right? Johnny Depp was rewarded $15 million in total, but due to state law, it was reduced to $10 million. So this is at par in dollar amount damages as the Johnny Depp and Amber Heard trial. This is neck and neck. And another thing, so another famous case was the Tasha K and Cardi B. That was $4 million. So this is infinitely bigger than that. We literally witnessed history today. Like, this is crazy And thankfully, justice was served. Because, like, you should not be able to just go on the internet and accuse someone of being a murderer for 3 years straight after repeated cease and desist after cease and desist after suing. They just kept going on and on and on. It was insane. So now I know a lot of people are going to be like, okay, $10 million. Will she ever be able to collect that? We'll see. Because the next steps, I mean, you know, the full amount, good luck. But the next steps for Rebecca is either, you know, having a settlement conversation. So that's when Ashley would give her upfront money to essentially settle. That's what happened in the Johnny Depp trial with Amber Heard. So in the Johnny Depp and Amber Heard trial, they settled on $1 million upfront directly to Johnny. Then the other thing is they could start the collection process of tracking down assets and garnishing wages. She did say that she was getting about $4,500 a month from VA, and apparently that's very easy to garnish. So, yeah. Honestly, as a psychic, she really should have seen all this coming. I feel like all of this was just one massive skill issue for her. I can't believe this. So, yeah, that was today's court session. It was insane. I'm going to make a full video on this because I've documented so much around this case. I also confronted her. So, I will say that she immediately said, I'm calling the police. So that was interesting. That'll be in my video that's coming on this, or yeah, coming out on this. So, oh boy. Yeah. It'll be an interesting video, so stay tuned for that. And I'm also dropping a video on the whole Johnny Somali thing very shortly as well, because there's a lot happening there as well. Thank you guys so much for all the support. If you're new here, feel free to subscribe, drop a like if you enjoyed this video. And also, it would be really cool if you guys actually clicked over on our hero over here on Spooky. She goes by Spooky on YouTube, but her channel is Killer Cafe, and she does true crime videos, and she was extremely helpful today. So if you guys went over and subscribed to her, it would be awesome if we could get her to like 1,000 subscribers. I think that would really make her day. So thank you guys again, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.